Thank you for tuning in to the Skol State of Mind podcast. I'm your host, D Woods. And yes, I'm running it back. This will be my personal deep dive into the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions. Yes, we had the live episode with all the guys, but I wanted to give you guys my personal opinion on what I really felt happened with the game on Sunday. So before I get into all the topics, first off, I want to thank everybody out there for subscribing to the channel, being in the comments, following me on all the social media platforms. I really appreciate it. It's really helping my whole channel grow. It's much appreciated. So let's get into the initial thoughts. Now, first off, I'm not too high or too low about the loss of this game. Like, if you've been following me for, the past couple of days, since yesterday of this game, like, I look at it like this. This game was lost, on the last couple of possessions. Like, regardless of whatever happened, you know, beginning of the game, middle of the game, I kind of felt like our Minnesota Vikings lost this game once we gave the ball back to the Detroit Lions with too much time on the clock. And what I mean by that is, let's go back to that possession where the defense, Josh Metellus basically punches the ball out on a fumble of David Montgomery, and Ivan Pace makes a play, runs it down for a touchdown, you know, scored a touchdown, try to get a 2-point conversion. We get it. It's unsuccessful. We go up by one, right? So we're up by one. So the Detroit Lions come back on the field with their offense. Our defense basically gives them 3 and out. Boom. Our offense comes back on the field. At that moment, right there, is where we lost the game. Now follow me. Let me land. That's where we lost the game because our defense scored to get us ahead in that game, right? And then their offense came right back on the field and our defense stopped them again. Now it was up to our offense to just run off enough clock to finish the game out. Now, I'm not saying like they have to just juice the clock down to zero. I think in all actuality, all we really needed was maybe a first down. That was it. And I would say those 3 play calls at that moment lost us the game. That right there lost us the game. I just hope that will be a learning experience going forward because what the Detroit Lions did after we went 3 and out, we kicked the ball back to them, punted it to them. They go drive right down the field with like the most utter confidence, like they wasn't scared of nothing. They knew like they had the game in their hands at that point. They go right down the field, kick their field goal because mind you, they're only down by 1. So now they kick the field goal and they go up 2. So we basically blow our timeouts and now we're scrambling. Like that's where the game was lost at that possession. Now, later in the video, I'm going to break it down and I'm gonna tell you where, we could have had this scenario change or we could have get this differently. But like I'm gonna just break it down to where like I say like this that moment where we could have won the game right then and there. I throw everything else out the door at that moment because right then and there, if the Minnesota Vikings get a first down or they bleed the clock a little bit more, we 6-0 right now. We are straight up. We going to LA. We 6-0. Like no pressure, straight up. That's my initial thoughts on that game. Like I'm not coming in here talking about Kevin O'Connell is a horrible coach. I'm not saying that. Like I'm not saying he's a horrible play caller. I'm saying in that moment, those three plays at that moment wasn't the plays that we needed to get the job done. I'm gonna say it again. In that moment, those three plays wasn't the plays to get the job done. So let's keep it moving. The offensive strategy in this game, I would say, like what I'm seeing with the offense, like I just really see like this offense is missing something. Like this offense is missing like a final piece. Like this offense is rolling at times, but it's not like an offense to where it's like you know how people say this offense is moving on all cylinders. I don't think this offense is moving on all cylinders just yet. There's moments this offense is explosive. It is. But this offense gets to the point to where it's like it gets stagnant, you know, like and we've seen that happen in the Kevin O'Connell offense to where, it's really good and we're going down the field and we're scoring touchdowns and we're getting first down and then it just comes to a stop. Like it just stops. Like I can't put my finger on it. Like I don't know what it is. I just feel like the offense is it's like really missing something. Like last year, the offense I would say was missing a consistent running game, but now the offense does have a consistent running game in Aaron Jones. But I have to put an asterisk by that because I don't really want Aaron Jones to get the 25, 30 carries a game. I don't want that because I don't want to have that wear and tear on him game by game. And like I don't really trust Ty Chandler to be the backup. And maybe that's why they did bring back Cam Akers to be that backup. Like that's what I'm saying. Like when you have an offense like that's rolling, even your backup comes in and he gets it rolling. Like I don't know if like TJ is the final piece to like have this offense and be way more cohesive, but it's like it just really feels like the offense is missing something. Like there's times where you see drives and it's like you you see it like I'm not going to say it's forced, but you see like Jefferson gets a catch. Jefferson gets a catch and then you see an Aaron Jones run. I personally want to see the ball get spread around a whole lot more. That's just me because I think when the ball gets spread around a whole lot more, it kind of keeps a defense like office. It keeps a defense make a defense play a little bit more safe. It's like okay, they can't key on Justin Jefferson so much because it's like they don't know where the ball is going to go, and I feel like maybe like I'm not this is not gospel. I feel maybe with TJ coming back, that can open this offense a whole lot more because I'm gonna be honest with y'all. We're basically getting nothing from our tight ends. Like our tight ends are catching the ball and falling on the ground. Like that's just basically it. It's catch the ball, boom, fall on the ground. Like that's all we're getting from our tight ends. And I really feel like too, it's like we know Jordan Addison is not the biggest receiver in the league. Like he's getting jammed at the line, and opposing corners know they can physically get him off his spot and like just move him. And I think that's kind of getting him off his routes. And they're like, okay, cool. If we can put a safety on top of Jefferson and then physically move, Addison off his routes, we can just let Naylor do whatever you're going to do because, the tight ends are not doing too much. Like that's kind of a philosophy these defenses is probably doing. So maybe TJ can open up this offense a whole lot more. But I just feel like I'm waiting to see this offense spark a whole lot more. Like I just feel it's not all the way there yet. I mean, I know we're in week 7, but it's just not clicking all the way there yet, and I'm just waiting for it to click. So defensive struggles. Now, I really want y'all to hear me when I say this with the defensive struggles. All right. I feel the same defensive struggles we had last year are kind of the same defensive struggles we seen yesterday. Middle of the field, wide open, right? I mean, I'm not saying Brian Flores has been figured out. I'm not saying Brian Flores is a bad coach. I'm not saying that. Some of y'all get out here, y'all hear something that y'all don't want to hear, and y'all immediately start to get negative. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's the players. All I'm saying is sometimes all the defenses are built and offenses know how to beat defenses. And I feel like some Ben Johnson knows how to beat this defense. Like he figured it out. And with the injury to Blake Cashman, it really showed. I think it really showed because I feel like a lot of us was like really, really worried about, you know, the defensive line and how I felt coming to the game. And if you followed me and you saw me on the crossover podcast with the, Detroit Lion fan report and everything like that, like I really wanted to see how our defensive line stacked up against the best offensive line, you know, in the NFL. Me personally, I feel our defensive line stacked up well, right? I really feel that way. But our linebackers didn't. Y'all know how I am. I want a down linebacker that's going to come down and thump. That's what I want to see. And I feel like our linebacker play wasn't really there, and that was missed because Blake Cashman was there. Don't come at me with that bullshit. Oh, Ivan Pace did this and Ivan Pace did that. Ivan Pace is a good player. He is. I'm not taking anything from him. I'm not. But when it comes to the running game, he tends to get washed out. Let's just let's just be real. Okay? Let's just be real. All right? You can debate me on that shit. All right? Let's just keep it there. There's no hate with that. We missed Blake Cashman yesterday, and it showed. Okay, it really showed. We can do all this talk about bringing in Dexter Lawrence or any other, big defensive tackle, but that wasn't the problem yesterday. The problem was that our middle of the field was exposed, and when it came to third and long, they got everything they wanted in third and long, and it tended to be middle of the field. And your defensive tackle does not play in the middle of the field. Okay? So let's just get that shit out of there right now. Excuse me if you don't like the way I phrase that. But I just wanted to get that out there. Brian Flores has to figure something out because it's not the personnel. It may be he needs to tweak the scheme. But we haven't seen this, problem before because his pass rush has been getting home. Now, I'm looking forward to this game on Thursday. Sean McVay is that dude. Offensively, Sean McVay is that dude. I will be at that game on Thursday. I will. And I'm going to rewind this video back. And if Cooper Kupp is in the middle of that field catching on third down, we're going to have a conversation. I'm going to say I told you so. We're going to come back to this video because then we have a problem. And this goes back to when beginning of the season, on why I always talk about not being so high and being so low on certain situations, players and coaches. Just let things play out because there is a thing called regression to the mean. Just like with Sam Darnold, right? I know we're talking about the defense, and I'm getting a little bit off topic a little bit, but first couple of games, Sam Darnold had the highest passer rating of all football, MVP Sam Darnold or whatever, threw a couple of picks. That shit dropped a little bit. You know, oh, it's the old Sam Darnold comeback. And I told y'all, I was like, well, there is a regression to the mean. He might not go back to old Sam Darnold, but he might regress a little bit. We just got to take that. Brian Flores' defense may not regress all the way down to be shit, but it might regress back to the mean. And we got to accept that because that's what happens. But if you always think a chance is going to be always super duper high, then you can't accept when shit just falls in the median. You can't have that. You can't have that expectation. So let's move on. So let's talk about the special teams highlights. I mean, there's only pretty much one real special team highlight we talk about real Riker with. He hasn't missed a field goal yet. He really hasn't. I mean, that's just basically it. Like, rest of special teams is they doing their job. I mean, real Rocket hasn't missed a field goal yet. A 58-yard field goal. Kevin O'Connell basically said that if they didn't get a penalty at the end of the game, he would have tried a 62-yard field goal. I think the kid would have made it if they would have had the attempt. Like, real talk. But that's pretty much all I can say about special teams, because special teams, real Rikers just been doing his job. So let's just keep it moving. Keep it moving. Areas of concern. Outside of the defense, my areas of concern will be I want to cut down, some of the carries with Aaron Jones. I really want to make sure that Cam Akers is being brought in here to be that second running back. I don't trust Ty Chandler anymore. I'm done with that, experience. I think we need to make sure we preserve Aaron Jones for the long haul. And I feel like we need to try to take some of those carries away and try to have a more balanced backfield between the two. That's really important to me. Area concern on the defense, just like I said before, with Brian Flores figuring something out of trying to make sure that middle of the field is not as wide open as has it been, and it's not as exposed, because the book is out. There's a thing called tape. Everybody has tape. I mean, it's a copycat league. I mean, if Ben Johnson figured it out, the next team is basically going to run that tape and figure out how to beat that shit. That's just exactly what's going to happen. That's a big concern for me, because I feel, with that being said, with the loss to the Lions, I mean, you lost in the division. That shit basically counts as 2 to me, because it's a division game. And now you have so much pressure going into Thursday night's game, because if you lose 2 in a row, your whole season looks fraudulent. I'm just being completely honest with you. You lose 2 in a row and you drop to the Rams, your whole season looks fraudulent, because some of your wins that you had in the beginning of the season doesn't look as impressive anymore, because look at what the 49ers have become. The 49ers are not the powerhouse that we thought they were. They basically look like flukes. So you really have to show that you can bounce back from a close defeat between a division rival and basically a playoff team of last year that basically was in the NFC title game. Bounce back from that game, go beat another team in the NFC, come back on a short week, knock it out. That's a concern for me. That I want to see that character. That's real big for me. Go into LA and take care of fucking business. You have to do that. Don't come to LA pussyfooting. Because if you do, just gonna get clown, man. Especially you got the storylines of Kevin O'Connell versus Sean McVay, the teacher versus the student. Come on, KOC, you got to come in here and bust ass. You just got to, man, for real. You coming home? You from San Diego, man? Like, come on, now. You got to come in here and do that. Like, that's concerning to me. So over. Let's get into overreactions. Now, I know I don't normally talk about these things on my episodes, but can we stop with the Dallas Turner overreactions? I know some of y'all probably not seeing it, but goddamn, Dallas Turner overreactions. Like, what are we doing? Like, I'm asking y'all, like, what are we doing? Like, we can't have patience for players to develop. Like, we used to. We used to have patience for players to develop. Like, I don't understand, like, why do we think that every player that's drafted in the first round has to immediately come to this team and make an immediate impact? And if they don't, then they're considered a bust. That's bullshit. Players have to develop. You don't understand that these players are being asked something different. The scheme that they might have ran in college is and might be completely different from the scheme that they have to run in the NFL. And then you compare them to other teams and other players that are rookies, they might be asked to do something completely different from what the scheme that they run in Minnesota. That's not fair. Let's stop doing that. Like, I just don't get that shit. Minnesota has a long line of pass rushers in the waiting. You want me to go back to it? I can break it down for you. I really can. I mean, Jared Allen, Ray Edwards, when they started, they backups was, Everson Griffin, Brian Roberson. Like, they were behind them. And you know who their backups was? Their backups was Daniil Hunter. Like, come on now. Daniil Hunter was before we knew Daniil Hunter was the beast that he was. He sat on the bench for a couple of years and developed. Yeah, he might have been a late round pick, but he developed. Everson Griffin developed. Like, we gotta stop this shit, man. We gotta stop this. Oh man, he's a bust and he should be doing this. He should be doing that. Nah, man. Like, let these players develop, man. For real. Like, we gotta stop. We gotta stop. For real. And if you think about the depth on this roster at the edge position, like, come on now. It's getting ridiculous. It's getting ridiculous. So I'm gonna close it. Thank y'all for tuning into the Skol State of Mind podcast. It is a short week, so I am probably gonna drop another episode for the preview of the Vikings Ram game tomorrow. All I can say is Skol, baby.